Merloni, Fauria, and Mego here asking the question, do you think Bill can fix this thing? And can he fix it before he basically walks away from football? And if you don't think he can, should he still be the head coach of this football team? Let's go to Chris in New Hampshire. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Hey.
Hey, listen, I think there's a couple other elephants in the room you guys aren't addressing.
Okay.
The first one is, for all the years, 23 years, Belichick has never been good at a succession plan or having people in the pipeline for any position.
That's
And
completely false.
Brady bailed them out of every situation that he didn't have a pipeline. Okay, but then the other elephant is
Wait,
the
Chris, let
owner.
me just stop you right there. For years, Bill was successful because he let people walk because he had someone else waiting. Like that was the calling card.
Brady made him look good.
Okay, but when Welker left, in came Edelman. He might have made him look good, but Edelman was pretty good, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, but then he goes the next place. He was terrible.
I disagree.
So
he was pretty good in Denver.
Well, all right. So let's.
Okay.
Something. You might say, but what? His succession plan has been great for all those years in every situation. I mean, he plays it by the seat of his pants. He doesn't have anything in the pipeline a lot of times. In my
That's
opinion.
not true
Okay,
at
Chris,
all.
I can't.
I hate it, but this is that.
The last 4 years,
he's
it's been a mess, okay?
Yes.
But how can you
But
say
not
that
even-
from
but-
left tackle? Look how the left tackle from one to the next to the next. Just had guys ready. You would draft a guy and actually sit him for a year or whatever, and then have him ready when Light left or whatever. It was all the time.
Yeah,
He
he
had
was really good at
succession
that.
plans. Linebackers. You went from great linebacker to great linebacker to great linebacker. Like, what are you talking about? The problem is the last 4 years, it's been a mess.
And when he didn't, he had the awareness to go out and pay for it, as he so often did with
Corners.
the lockdown corners.
Yeah.
He had the awareness of where the holes were and how to, boom, like spackle that up, bring somebody in, pay them a little cash, and then when they're on their way out, all right, well, somebody else coming in, either an undrafted free agent who I found under a rock on the side of the road, or I'm going to go out and pay somebody else because I have trouble with this spot.
You can't kill Bill's career. I mean, it was fantastic. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time. It was a fantastic run. Some people might want to give more credit to Brady, whatever. The two of them were great together. I'm just talking about the last 3 or 4 years in the direction of the next 2 or 3. That's what this is about. This isn't about questioning his whole career like this guy's doing. Go ahead, Doug. Doug in New Hampshire. You're on, buddy.
Hey, guys. So, Kraft paid this man a lot of money, generational wealth. Bill's always been ahead of the game, and it just doesn't seem like he's got that anymore. I don't think he can adapt anymore. And I'm an old guy, and I've had to, do a lot of different things over my life. Bill just seems like he's doing his thing, his way, no other way. It's time to move on. You see some of those fresh faces on those other coaching staffs. Like, hey, maybe it's time. And Lou, I totally agree with everything you said, 100%.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Doug.
I agree with Lou. Great call.
I feel like we don't hear that a lot when it comes to Patriots, which I think really tells you like the temperature in the room right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? I mean, how often do you hear someone agree with Lou saying like,
They've,
hey, I agree with how you're bashing
I
this?
feel like eventually you wake up and you go, wow, this isn't a dream. It's real. Like, this is real. This is really happening. If you went to the game last night and you witnessed that performance, if you were watching it on TV, how long before you turned it off?
Yeah. I like to think I'm ahead of the curve, Mego.
I tell you what, even that fourth quarter drive, like the long drive, and they just kept getting break after break, and they were going for it and all that stuff, and they ended up kicking a field goal. Even then, I was like, I'm just curious to see if, like, when they're going to screw it up. I just thought they're going to screw it up.
Because they're a dumb football team.
They're just stupid, and then the Buffalo Bills were like, all right, now we'll play.
And then, it's just kind of looking at it honestly. It's not like hating on the guy. Again, the greatest coach of all time, but I don't know how you can't look at what you've been watching and think this is good or it's going to get better because is he ever going to be able to beat a good quarterback, like put a game plan together? They quit at the end of that game. He was just trying to save face. That's all it was.
The difficult thing with this situation is when you compare it to 2020, there was some real issues in 2020, some of which Bill created like over several years with the drafts and all of that. But, you had voids in the roster and a horrible quarterback play, and that team was just never going anywhere. But you had the team then that he put together for 2021, and there was optimism on the horizon, and he created more problems for the team.
Mm-hmm.
He created problems with the hiring, and it's like, you didn't need this. It's already hard enough to be in a rebuild. Unless he sincerely couldn't find anyone else who wanted to come in and work for him, which I find hard to believe.
On his list. Because remember, it's got to be someone that he's worked with in the past that's friends with him,
Can
or Mike
just-
Lombardi, or
And
somebody
who's
else.
being
Honestly,
paid by another team.
Right.
I'm not
All being
trying to-
paid by another team. Well said.
I'm not trying to be fresh. Can he call up Saban and be like, hey, any young talent out there you like, who I would like? Isn't that how he used to
It's got to
find
have him in
some
his
of his
staff for at least
draft
3 or
picks?
4 years, though, before he elevates him. And that's why I say, like, he's going to just fire Matt Patricia, his best friend.
He doesn't have to fire him. Just
demote him.
Demote him.
Send him elsewhere.
And
He
he's
can
gonna-
sign
I'm
contracts.
Bring
sorry,
in-
honey. Your friend stayed too
He really
late.
needs
We're
to-
all pissed off.
And he's
They
going to
gotta
clear
go.
out like a wide receiver room and say, okay, you know what? Enough. We are going to trade a first and a third and a future first. We're going to bring in the best wide receiver. We're going to give Matt. We're going to do that, and none of that's
not the
happening,
solution.
guys.
The fact is, like, if I'm Patricia, I'm really like, I'm mad at Bill. You made me do this. You said I could do
Oh,
it.
yeah, I'd be
Why?
pissed at him.
Bill's
You knew
giving
I couldn't do it.
everything.
I
Bill's
would-
giving you
yeah.
everything. You can't be mad at him.
I'm mad at
If
him.
I was Patricia, I wouldn't be happy with him either.
It's
Maybe
not-
you're
there's
making
no
me
good
look like
this.
an idiot.
It's
I
like
can't do
already
this.
bad.
Like, what made you think I could do this? Yeah, I'll give it a try. But, Bill, and then the whole thing, too, just like the gaslighting that we've been talking about, just making
worse
things
than
up.
ever.
Like great coach. Doesn't matter if you coach offense, defense, whatever. We actually believed it. Can't run man-to-man, play action against man-to-man. We believed it. Talking about, we actually forced them to punt last year with the Bills, which they didn't. Like, you start believing everything.
Good
Football
plays
players.
aren't all good plays.
Yeah, football players aren't really in shape until about week 6, week 7. What? Like what? What?
See, I think it's getting harder and harder to cover
Penalties.
up the issues. I feel like when you're
We don't
so
commit a
like
lot of
the
penalties.
issues that Matt Patricia and Joe Judge had, and Eric Mangini to a certain extent, like had when they went to other teams and they tried to be Bill after he won 5 Super Bowls. They tried to be Bill after 3 Super Bowls, and they realized that. Listen, he was allowed to do whatever the hell he wanted to, say whatever he wanted to, be in whatever mood he wanted to, because he's really good at his job. And every time you doubt him, he proves you wrong. So he's always sitting, and he always has the high ground. Now, I tell you what, it's such a bad look. Like when he's so condescending, when he's like, I don't know, ask their players. I don't know, ask the team. Dude,
Send the pool reporter.
You're going to have to just answer the
Talk to
stinking
the refs.
questions. Like this works if you're competing and your team isn't quitting on you.
Maybe we could take notes this time and just say that I'm responsible for all of it.
There you go.
Okay.
You can just say that. And then
Okay.
that's it. I'll just say, well, why? Well, I would say answer the damn question.
Like people in the text are just like, it's a rebuild. It's a rebuild. Relax. It's a rebuild.
Is it?
Okay, fine. No, listen, we all
Based
know.
on what?
No, it is a rebuild.
Since
How long does the
when?
rebuild take? And will Bill be there on the other side of it when it's finally built up at 70? What? 7, 6, 5? Wait, what? Really? Does anybody really believe that?
6 years?
5 years? 4 years?
Jeez, that seems like a long time. It's like
Well, how about next year? Let's start with next year
Spend-
because we heard even at the beginning of the season, even before the season, some of the local writers talk about where the cap space is going to be, how much cash they'll have to spend again, and so you can reinvest in some of the offensive weapons around and bring somebody in who maybe is actually works with your quarterback and elevates his play. But I still think the bigger thing is the offensive coordinator position. But I still don't think it's enough this year. Yeah, it looks really bad. It looks terrible. It feels terrible. It's ugly football. But I do feel like it's mostly concentrated on that one side of the ball. Like, I know that there's been the defense wasn't horrible last night. Like, the defense when they were when the score was 17-7, a manageable gap, the defense got Josh Allen off the field 3 consecutive drives, and the offense didn't do anything with it. Like, the defense, when it was still a manageable game, I mean, it didn't feel like the Patriots were going to win, but they gave the offense chances, and the offense can't do anything. So it does feel like it's a localized sickness in this
They
team.
couldn't get off the field. No, that's
Okay,
I mean,
Lou, they were on the field for like 36 minutes.
Almost
At some point,
40.
I think those guys are getting gassed.
no, I agree, but how about early in the game? I think at one point they were like 8 for 10 on third down.
It
Now
went nine drives, 9 plays, 9 plays, 14 plays. Those
Yeah.
are the first 3 Bills drives.
rested. I mean,
So-
the first
Start
3
the-
drives,
to
like
start the
they couldn't get off the field.
So in I think it was 2017 or 2018. Can't remember what year it was, but Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh needed a new defensive coordinator. So all he did, he kept for the 2 years before he actually hired this guy, he just kept looking at the defensive stats. And the team with the best stats, like one year was Boston College, another year was like Maryland, was a guy by the name of Don Brown. I don't know if anybody from locally who knows about football, Don Brown's like a legend around here. Well, sure enough, Don Brown had the number one defense in the nation like 2 years in a row, top three or something like that. So he didn't even look at the film, didn't even interview him, called him. He was at BC, happily has actually talked about it, threw him out there and hired him on the spot. Hired him on the spot because he just had his stats that he was the best defensive coordinator. So I'm like, all right, offense, let's do the same thing with offense.
Hire outside the family?
So no, because basically you just want – I just want to know who the best is at running offenses. So the best offense in the NFL right now is the 49ers, okay? As far as passing, overall offense, okay, it's one of the best in the league.
It's Shanahan.
Okay. Yeah, so I was sitting there going, okay, who actually has the title of offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers? It's Kyle Shanahan, and it's offensive line coach. Nope. D'Amico Ryans. Nope. Special teams coordinator. I think it's Anthony Lynn, assistant head coach, running backs coach. He was the offensive coordinator.
It's really Shanahan,
But
though,
that's
isn't it?
Shanahan's
No,
offense.
I know. But how about Brian Griese? He's the quarterback coach. I feel like Brian Griese.
Does Bill know him?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does.
He
Where'd
knew.
he go
Probably
to
knew his
college?
dad. Michigan.
Does
Went to
he have
Michigan.
any-
Won a
okay,
national
that's good.
championship.
That's good.
Okay,
That's
so
a good
there's some
start.
ties there.
Gotta
Does
know
he have
him.
any,
Was
does
an
he have
announcer.
any kids who play lacrosse?
Friends with Brady.
His dad was Bob Griese.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, famous football player
But
for
does
the
he have
Miami
any-
Dolphins.
Does he have any connections
Bill?
to John Carroll, John
Well,
Hopkins?
Lombardi?
No, he went to
Johns?
Michigan. He was a Monday Night Football guy. He was an ESPN guy for years. Used to do the Big Ten games. I'm not kidding. Grab a young guy like this and say, let him have the reins. Don't give him too much rope. I mean, you want the Kyle Shanahan offense? Hire the guy that coaches the quarterbacks to do that. Like, that is what you need. So he knows the system. He knows how to coach quarterbacks. Oh, by the way, he was one.
You think he does it?
Played in college, played in the pros, and then he talked about it for years.
Think Bill does it? Goes outside the family?
I'm thinking, don't we all agree that whatever move he makes is going to be something that's uncomfortable for him?
If I'm Robert Kraft, I am telling him so.
That's the
I
other
am sitting him
aspect
down
of
and say,
it.
Bill, I want
Yeah.
Patricia and Judge's ass out of the offense. You demote them. You put them wherever you want. They're your buddies, whatever. I don't care. Make Patricia Ernie Adams. Put them in the booth, whatever. But you got to go outside your family. You got to find an offensive guy.
That's
well,
the
well,
type
I
of
don't
guy
know.
you wanna
I don't-
find.
I mean,
Okay,
and if you're
think
not
about it.
willing to do it, then I think you got to sit there and think about moving on.
I just saw Trent Dilfer is now the new head coach at UAB, some small school in the South somewhere. But he's now a head coach. That's the type of guy I would bring in. You're a former quarterback. You're brilliant when it comes to coaching it, and you could run an offense. That's the type of guy you need. You need an offense. You need a former quarterback who can run an offense specifically. Not some guy that was the backup to the backup or went to John Carroll and played lacrosse, okay, that came up through the ranks. You need this guy. You need an offensive-minded, focused only on the quarterback position.
Or you can just get a cleansing and get rid of the kids, get rid of his other kids, Patricia and Judge, and you bring someone else and say, just rebuild this thing. Just do it. Rebuild it.
What do you mean cleansing? Like get rid of like all the players?
No, all the coaches.
Well, I definitely
All of
think
them.
I don't think this stays. I think Troy Brown stays.
Mayo.
I think your tight ends coach stays. I think Patricia and Judge
Nick Caley?
They can't stay. They cannot
It's
keep them
those
in that
two.
position.
Get him out.
Well, one guy's
Get
coaching
him
the
out.
quarterbacks, the other one's coach is actually running the offense, and he's coaching the offensive line. Please, it's not a bigger joke in the history of sports. Like, I love it when they put his little tagline.
Oh, so bad.
It's like, come on, what are we doing? Special assistant to
Supervisor.
director of football operations,
Senior
and assistant
advisor.
offensive line coach.
While he's holding up the play sheet,
It's
calling
like,
plays.
Who are you kidding me, right? Who are you kidding?
It's a mess.
It's amazing. It's all coming back to bite him in the booty.
Let me go to Carter in San Diego. Go ahead, Carter. You're on.
Hey guys, so I don't understand why people give Bill Belichick such a hard time. Like why he doesn't have a succession plan, how he doesn't build the team around like he's doing like right now. If you go back to the early '90s, he had the coaching staff with Nick Saban. He had multiple different types of coaches that went off to be other great successful coaches like Mike Mangini, and they also, when they had the team ready to go to move forward to build the dynasty, which was the exact same plan that they moved to New England, the owner literally jumped ship and said, hey, we're going to Baltimore. Sorry, we're not going to be building here in Cleveland anymore. And it ruined the entire franchise, and it ruined the momentum. When you had coaches that go to Baltimore, if you watch like the documentaries or Football Life, they all said like, oh yeah, Bill Belichick and the rest of us were eyeing Ray Lewis when he was in Miami, and we were going to pick him up. And now people are saying, like that one guy saying, oh, Bill does not have a pipeline succession plan. Bill's not an idiot. Yes, he drafted Mac Jones for a reason because he had Josh McDaniels. He had a good team around him. But when he left for the Raiders and he had like no one to pick, because he's not going to pick Bill O'Brien, who was literally there just for a year when Mac Jones got drafted. He's not going to move his whole family right away after just 1 year or 2 years. It takes time. Now there's rumors that in Alabama that no one wants Bill O'Brien there anymore. So it's the perfect time for him to bring back a former head coach that he built within the inside. Okay. And if you do not feel comfortable with Mac Jones.
No one's questioning Bill, thanks for the call, like at 43, 48, 50, like succession plans and coaches he had. Like it was great. And I didn't hear that Alabama doesn't want anything to do with Billy O. I think if Billy O wants to leave, he wants to go to the NFL. So he doesn't want to move his family after 1 year, but he'll do it after 2. It's not about any of that. If Bill Belichick was 60 years old, 58 years old, I wouldn't be looking for him to move on. But he's 70 years old. And by the time they turn this thing around, what you're going to get is him just sort of crawling to the finish line to beat Shula. It's going to take 3 years. And it's going to be 7, 8, 9 wins, maybe, no threat at all. And eventually he's going to get it. But is that really what you're looking for? I guess, maybe. Some people just want the nostalgia.
You said it.
Win the record?
Tim Wakefield's 200th win.
Yeah, and I listened to, whatever. Like, they don't get on Wakey because it wasn't even like his fault, whatever. They just kept rolling him out there, the pitching. But
go up for nothing. You sit down and boom.
I'm watching Jonathan and Robert Kraft watching that football game. We're sitting here talking about it. The fans are all irate. They're leaving that stadium like pissed off. What the hell do you think they're thinking? Oh, you know what? 3 more years, Bill can break Shula?
It was horrible.
Who was the guy sitting next to the Amazon guy, whoever, the CEO of Amazon?
What do you think Robert Kraft and Jonathan
for this? It wasn't Jeff Bezos. I don't know.
It was somebody else.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
They announced it. There's like 4 people there.
Yeah, I know that.
I'm sorry for that. It's not what we thought was going to happen.
What do you think they're thinking?
It is what it is.
Like they know what winning football looks like.
Yeah, they did
it. They have no problem with this?
You told me you had a winning program here. I am leaving. With my billions of dollars.
I don't
Good thing the Royals didn't show up to that game.
Oh, man.
That would be horrible. That would be
Jeez.
shit. Oh, goodness.
Why don't they fight back?
They will. They don't even have crumpets.
We got a bunch of your calls up there we got to get to as well. 617-779-7937. Everybody's reacting. Everybody's pissed off. We all thought they were going to lose to Buffalo, but why do we feel worse?